I'm just Nick, and I'm a guitar player like you. Also a bit of a blowhard with a YouTube channel, dangerous combination, but basically I'm a guitar player. Really kind of honored that Matt from Guitar Note asked me to be a regular video columnist, and I'm super happy to be here with all of you to talk about guitar stuff and other stuff. I play a bunch of different types of music. I feel super lucky to play with lots of really interesting musicians and people around here and collaborate with not just musicians, but people who do other things, write poems and make art, and also just collaborate with people who listen to my music, because I kind of consider that a form of collaboration. I always like to know what people think about it. So I guess I'm a music person. Matt told me I had to introduce myself, so now I did. I thought a good subject for this first column would be to talk a little bit about why the guitar is such a huge force and phenomenon in modern popular music across a bunch of genres. Now, I don't want to overstate things. There's a whole world of music out there that's not guitar-centric, and most of it's pretty awesome. But there's no doubt that in modern popular music that derives from the blues and rock and roll and even elements of jazz, and many other genres of music that have kind of emerged out of that soup, including hip-hop, guitar plays a pretty important role, even if it's not live and it's sampled or just recorded. The guitar is huge, the phenomenon of the guitar is huge, the symbol of the guitar and the guitar player is freaking huge, huge. And I happen to think this is both the most awesome thing about those genres of music where the guitar figures large, and also about the most horrible thing that could happen in modern popular music. Yes, guitar is awesome. The guitar is awful. I love the guitar. I hate the guitar. I don't really hate the guitar. Don't hate the game. Hate the player. I don't hate the guitar ever. I love the guitar. I hate guitar players. Can't stand them. Terrible people. Let's talk about the upside first. This is a really special instrument. It has an enormous dynamic range, virtually unlimited, limited only by the size of your amplification system. You can easily produce volume out of this instrument that can destroy people's hearings. Destroy their hearings and their hearing. You could destroy hearing. Imagine a hearing and really loud guitar. Destroy the hearing. But you can destroy people's hearings, possibly even cause their heads to explode if you have a large enough amplification system. But you can also make very interesting and musical sounds that are very, very quiet using the same system. You have huge control over that dynamic range, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing it's got going for it, massive dynamic range. Another thing is a pretty big pitch range for an instrument. Not as big as some, certainly not as big as a pipe organ, but pretty big. From there, all the way up to, or even, okay? So pretty big. Here's where I think it gets magical. Something about the combination of these strings that are pitched and this thing called a pickup, little electromagnetic transducer. Something about that combination is magical. Yeah, it really is, because it responds with such variety and so many different timbres to how you manipulate this thing mechanically. You can strum it softly, you can hit it hard, you can hit it with something hard like a pick. Yeah, I probably clipped the input on the preamp there. If I did, I'm sorry, but you get the idea, and that really is part of the deal, is that we can generate such a wide dynamic range is that invariably we get distortion out of certain devices, whether they're little boxes designed specifically to provide distortion, or whether we're simply overloading the input stage of an amp or a preamp on a console, whatever it is, that dynamic range, the fact that it can exceed the sort of linearity of, or the linear, the ability of an amplification device to respond linearly, that in of itself is a phenomenon, man. When people started getting distortion out of their amps, a whole new world of timbres and expression opened up. the mechanical variety, the ways that you can manipulate this instrument is really unlimited. And if it's a little microphonic, all the better. Yep, I could go on like that for a really long time. Think also about the fact that something about this recipe must have been right, because for the most part, we're playing guitars that have been kind of unchanged in their design for like at least 60 years. Look at this thing. This thing's even made to look like it's about, 50 years old. And it's virtually the same design that was this, by the way, is a Tele made by Coupe Guitars, but you can find all kinds of Teles at all kinds of prices that basically are unchanged for 50 years, and with good reason. That first mass-produced solid body guitar design was just a good design, and you don't need much more than that to do all the things that a guitar does so friggin' well. Not to mention bending. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface. Everything from very, very sharp attack transients to very smooth attack transients, bright timbres to dark timbres, and we can get that by changing how we do things mechanically. Okay, I could go on. I really could go on. I could go on, but I'm not going to, because we have to address the darker side to all of this, and that's the guitar player. We can't blame the instrument for the player, but there really is something disturbing about some of what it means to be a guitar player. First of all, look at this thing, okay? It is true that its portability and its shape lends itself a little bit to this kind of thing, okay? And this kind of thing is a big part of rock and roll and other genres, but it can become too big a part. Big is good, but too big's no good, because this invariably leads to a little bit of this, right? A little bit of this is okay, but a little bit of this leads to a lot of that. And all of a sudden we have this instrument that, as a concrete reality in a musical context, but also as a symbol, and the player behind it begin to expand and displace other musical elements. And suddenly everything's about the guitar player who's up front. Maybe the guitar player isn't even the lead singer, but the guitar player is still the guitar player, and the guitar is this thing that gets bigger and bigger, like the thing outside of the Hard Rock Cafe and all over the walls. And it's just this thing that is dominating everything and begins to get in the way. It begins to move from being an element in an irresistible groove machine, where maybe once every 4 bars we just... Yeah, I'm going to wait. You can count with me. I count with my teeth. We do all that all night, and maybe that's all we need. Or we could do something else, and I'm not going to do it because you know what it is. We could do something else that suddenly wouldn't be about the irresistible groove machine, the larger musical whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. It would be about me. And it's okay to be a little bit about me. But when it comes to music, if it's too much about me, then it's not about those people out there listening, or perhaps the other people playing music with me. It gets pretty damn banal and boring. Yep. So the guitar, and particularly the player and the guitar hero, it's okay in reasonable measure, but when it's too much, it becomes a very, very deadening thing. There's also something about guitar players, in addition to being raging egomaniacs, they can be so snobbish. In fact, I think I dislike the guitar anti-hero as much, perhaps even more, than the guitar hero. And I stand accused and convicted a little bit, because I tend to sometimes self-consciously be a minimalist guitar player. And self-consciousness is really never that good for music, in my opinion. But the guitar anti-hero can be very snobbish, and can be very snobbish about equipment. And the guitar hero and anti-hero both can be terribly conservative and traditionalist. Look at this. I'm playing a guitar that is designed, it's beautiful, and it plays beautifully, and sounds great, but it's designed specifically to look like it's 60 years old. What's up with that? Now, I happen to love it, but what's up with that? What is with our fantasy of the past and our nostalgia as guitarists? I know other instrumentalists have some of that, but nowhere near the amount we do. We're also just raging egomaniacs. It's that simple. How often do you hear a bass player get off stage and you say, hey, you guys sound really good. You know, you got a great rhythmic feel to your music. I like the sound, the whole thing. It was just really interesting to listen to. And have that player say, yeah, but how was my solo? No, I know it happens because there's bass players who are frustrated guitar players. But real bass players, they don't say that. They just say, thanks. It means a lot coming from you. Guitar players, not only are they asking, how's my solo? They're asking, how's my tone? How is my tone? They're asking, did you notice the finish on my new telly? That's the kind of thing they're asking. This is not a good sign. It's not. It's a thing guitar players do. We are raging egomaniacs, at least some of the time. And again, a little bit of that's a good thing, a fun thing. Can even be a musical thing in certain genres. Certain genres are about the ego. Yes. But too much of that, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Begins to get in the way of the music. So I think that the guitar is a very, very special instrument. And just like all instruments, you know, what it does is really up to the person playing it. And frankly, I don't really care if people think that guitar players are raging egomaniacs or obsessed with their tone and gear. Even if it's true, we're still guitar players. And we've got one thing going for us, which is as egomaniacal and grandiose as we may be, we don't even begin to approach the levels achieved by keyboard players. Till next time.